Love, sacrifice, and miracles all come together in the unforgettable story of Linda and Quang as they welcome their daughter Sophia into the world. From the sacred moment of her first cry, to the tender embrace of her parents' arms, and finally to the dawning of a new chapter as a family of three, this tale is filled with raw emotion, hope, and boundless joy. If you believe in the power of love and the beauty of family, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories. Now, let's step into the magical journey of Sophia's birth. The sacred moment that Linda and Quang had been waiting for finally arrived. A moment that seemed to suspend time and silence the world outside. After months of anticipation, of whispered dreams and tender hopes, the delivery room became the stage for the most beautiful chapter of their love story. The gentle glow of the soft hospital lights fell upon Linda's face, damp with beads of sweat, yet radiant with a strength that only a mother could carry. Quang sat by her side, his heart pounding faster than it ever had, each beat echoing with both worry and excitement. He squeezed her hand tightly, whispering words of encouragement, reminding her that they were almost there, that their miracle was about to meet the world. And then, amidst the tension, the prayers, and the silent countdown of every breath, came a sound that changed everything forever: the first cry of their baby. It was not just a cry, but a melody that filled the room with life and filled their souls with indescribable joy. It was the cry of Sophia, the precious child who was the living proof of their love, their journey, and their unbreakable bond. Linda's eyes welled with tears the moment she heard it, tears that spoke of relief, exhaustion, and above all, boundless happiness. Quang's chest tightened, his breath caught in his throat as he realized that the dream they had shared was now breathing in his arms. The nurses gently wrapped the tiny baby and placed her into Linda's embrace. As Sophia's warm, delicate body rested against her mother's chest, the world seemed to pause. The noise, the bustle, the sterile air of the hospital all faded away, leaving only the pure, timeless connection between mother and child. Linda's heart swelled as she whispered Sophia's name for the very first time, her voice trembling with emotion. The name carried weight, carried meaning. It was the name they had spoken together countless times, but hearing it now, spoken to the very soul it belonged to, was like hearing it anew. Quang leaned closer, his eyes glistening as he gazed upon his daughter. In that instant, he felt both infinite and small. Infinite because love expanded in his chest until it seemed too big to contain. Small because he was humbled by the sheer miracle of life, by the innocence of the little being who had chosen him to be her parents. He brushed a fingertip against Sophia's tiny hand, and when her delicate fingers instinctively curled around his heart melted completely. He knew his life's purpose had just transformed. From that moment on, everything, his ambitions, his efforts, his very breath would carry her in mind. Together, Linda and Quang shared a glance, one filled with unspoken words. They did not need to say anything, for their eyes told the whole story: the struggles they had faced, the love that had carried them, and the future they now dreamed of as a family of three. Sophia's first cry was not just a sound, but a promise, a gentle vow that their love had created something eternal. In that instant, they realized they were standing at the threshold of a new life, one richer, deeper, and more beautiful than they had ever imagined. Linda's tears streamed freely as the warmth of Sophia's tiny body pressed against her chest, her heart racing with a rhythm that matched the newborn's fragile breaths. It was as if all the pain, all the fatigue of the hours leading up to this moment had dissolved into nothing the second she laid eyes on her child. She looked down at Sophia, her cheeks flushed pink, her fists trembling with life, and she felt the deepest gratitude she had ever known. This was not simply the birth of a child, it was the birth of her own heart outside of her body. Every beat, every fragile sigh from Sophia seemed to echo through her soul like a melody she had waited a lifetime to hear. Beside her, Quang stood transfixed, unable to look away from the miracle resting in Linda's arms. He was overwhelmed by a mix of awe and disbelief. How could something so perfect, so pure, belong to him and the woman he loved? His hands trembled as he reached out, afraid his touch might be too rough for something so delicate. Yet when he finally placed his palm gently over Sophia's small back, a rush of emotion surged through him, an unshakable realization that he was now a father. Not in name, not in thought, but in the deepest, most profound sense. The weight of that responsibility, instead of frightening him, filled him with a strength he had never felt before. Linda turned her gaze to Quang, her eyes shimmering with the light of both exhaustion and bliss. She saw the way he looked at their daughter, and her chest swelled with pride. In his silence, in his trembling smile, she could read everything: his promises, his devotion, his awe. "Thank you," Quang whispered, his voice breaking as he bent down and kissed her damp forehead. It was a thank you not just for carrying their child, not just for enduring the pain, but for giving him the most precious gift of all, a family. Linda squeezed his hand gently, too overcome with emotion to reply, but her tearful smile said everything he needed to hear. As Sophia shifted slightly, letting out a soft whimper before settling back into sleep, both parents instinctively leaned closer, their bodies forming a protective circle around her. It was as though the world beyond the walls of that room no longer existed. Time itself seemed to bow down to the tenderness of the moment, stretching endlessly so they could savor every second. The simple act of watching their daughter breathe, of seeing her tiny chest rise and fall, became the most sacred experience of their lives. In that fragile silence, Quang imagined the years ahead, teaching her to walk, to speak, to laugh, to dream. He pictured holding her little hands as she took her first steps, imagined the sound of her voice calling him "Daddy," envisioned her smile lighting up their home. He silently vowed to protect her from every shadow, to be her shield against the storms of the world. Beside him, Linda dreamed her own dreams, of cradling Sophia through nights of lullabies, of dressing her for her first day of school, of watching her grow into the kind of woman who would carry their love forward into the world. The nurses moved quietly around them, but to Linda and Quang, the room was silent except for the steady breaths of their newborn child. Every sigh, every small movement was a miracle. And in those precious minutes, husband and wife became more than partners, more than lovers. They became guardians, bound forever by the fragile, beautiful life that now lay in their arms. The day Sophia was born was not only the beginning of her life, but also the opening of an entirely new chapter for Linda and Quang. As they sat together, their daughter nestled securely in Linda's arms, both of them realized with breathtaking clarity that they had crossed a threshold. Their lives would never be the same. The love that had once existed only between two people had now expanded, transforming into something larger, stronger, and infinitely more enduring. It was no longer just about them. It was about the family they had become, the future they would build, and the legacy they would leave behind through Sophia. For Linda, the moment was humbling and empowering all at once. She could feel the fragility of Sophia's tiny frame, but within that fragility lay a strength beyond measure, the strength of new beginnings, the strength of innocence, the strength of love given form. She thought back to the days when she and Quang were just two dreamers, walking side by side, whispering about the future they hoped to create. Now, that dream was wrapped in a blanket, resting against her chest, breathing softly as if the universe itself had answered their prayers. She smiled through her tears, knowing that every sacrifice, every challenge she had faced along the way had been worth it for this one precious gift. Quang too felt transformed. He had always believed he understood responsibility, but fatherhood was something different, something far deeper than he had ever imagined. As he watched Linda cradle Sophia, he felt a fierce determination rising in his heart. This was his family, his reason to fight harder, to dream bigger, to become the best version of himself. He thought of the sleepless nights ahead, the struggles and uncertainties that every parent must endure, yet none of it frightened him. Instead, it filled him with courage because he knew he would not face it alone. He and Linda were bound together, not only by love, but by the shared duty of raising Sophia, guiding her steps, and protecting her light. Together, they imagined the years to come. They pictured the milestones, Sophia's first smile, her first laugh, her first words. They saw birthdays filled with balloons and laughter, family dinners filled with warmth, quiet nights of stories whispered before sleep. Every image was painted with love, and every dream they held for her was infused with the same devotion that had brought her into the world. The thought of the future no longer felt daunting. It felt like an adventure they had been waiting their whole lives to embark on. As Sophia stirred softly, her little hand stretching out as if reaching for the world, Linda and Quang leaned closer, their faces glowing with tenderness. In her, they saw not only the reflection of their love, but also a promise that their story would continue, that their bond would live on through her. Sophia was not just their child, she was their miracle, the living embodiment of hope, faith, and the kind of love that could withstand time itself. That day, Linda and Quang stepped into parenthood with hearts wide open. They knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but also with immeasurable joy. And as they held Sophia between them, they felt an unshakable certainty that no matter what the world might bring, as long as they had each other and their daughter, their love would remain unbreakable. Sophia was the culmination of their past, the treasure of their present, and the shining star of their future. In her, their love had found its forever home.
Chào tất cả các khán Xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Bí Tử Ninja Review. Vậy là tập phim của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong tập phim này của chúng ta thì Quang và Ninja đã tưởng tượng ra những giây phút khi bé Sophia, con của Quang và Ninja, cất tiếng khóc chào đời. Đó là một khoảnh khắc hạnh phúc vô cùng, và quá trình mang thai của Linda cũng được cả Quang và Linda hình dung ra. Khi bé Sophia chào đời thì đó là một khoảnh khắc vô cùng thiêng liêng và hạnh phúc đối với cả gia đình Quang. Mẹ Quang là bà nội của Sophia đã dành tặng cháu gái một món quà vô cùng đặc biệt. Nếu mọi người thấy tập phim ngày hôm nay hay, hấp dẫn, hãy cho mình xin một nút like, một nút chia sẻ và nhớ để lại bình luận ở dưới video nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều đã luôn dành tình cảm cho kênh của mình. Đừng quên bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tử Ninja Review nha. Cảm ơn, xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye.